So, howdy. This is the Common Constitutionalist coming at you with the Common Constitutionalist Weekly Podcast. And I want to talk about Ted Nugent, Uncle Ted, and his vow of civility. I want to talk about the left and their tactics, their Alinsky tactics, and how we can talk about civility until the cows come home, but it's going to fall on the left's deaf ears. So we'll discuss that today on the Common Constitutionalist.
You are listening to the Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
So the Motor City madman, Uncle Ted Nugent, has taken a vow of civility, for want of a better term. And, yeah, it's a laudable goal, I'll grant you, but I don't know that he can, can he pull it off? And if he can, for how long, I guess. Uncle Ted has been a fiery SOB for as long as I can remember. But they say, but they're right in this particular case. The they is right. When you make a significant life change, there's usually a pivot point that's reached, and you can see it, and anyone should be able to see a pivot point. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's one of those bottom of the barrel things where you drop to your knees and you pray to God, and all is lost, and you're going to change your ways once and for all, or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be that drastic, but it is a pivot point where you can track it and see exactly where you've pivoted from one mode of psyche to another, or mindset, or however. And apparently this Republican shooting a few days ago is Uncle Ted's pivot point. And he's an honest guy. He's an upstanding guy. Lots of people think he's a right-wing whack job, but he's an honest guy, and I think he's sincere. We'll see if it lasts, but I think he's sincere. So the Blaze wrote that politically charged musician Ted Nugent appeared on WABC radio's Curtis and Ebony and Ivory. Oh, yeah, baby. In the aftermath of the GOP congressional shooting, Nugent claimed that he can't engage in hateful political rhetoric any longer. I cannot, and I will not, and I encourage even my friends, enemies on the left and the Democrat and the liberal world that we have got to be civil to each other, Nugent said. The whole world is watching America, where you have the God-given right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we have got to be more respectful to the other side. He continued, I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to back down. And if it gets fiery, if it gets hateful, I'm going to go away. And I'm not going to engage in the hateful rhetoric anymore. The rocker also, the Blaze writes, the rocker also acknowledged his previous speeches directed at Democrats Hillary Clinton and former President Barack Obama, saying that the reason he would engage in such controversial rhetoric was because he was so hyped up and so angry about the political climate. He says, I'm not trying to make excuses, but when I made those wild comments on stage against then Senator Hillary Clinton and then Senator Barack Obama, I don't know if you can grasp the degree of adrenaline and intensity and over-the-top animal spirit and attitude that I live on stage, he said. Ted always talks about animal spirit. He's a spiritual dude. If you ever watched his Spirit of the Wild show, you'll know that he always talks about animal spirits. After he shoots a deer or something like that, he'll go and he'll basically pet the dead deer and talk about the deer's spirit and how it's giving back to humankind and all that other stuff. And he's very sincere about this. So I think, in fact, he is sincere. And he wants to improve his demeanor. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. We could all, I'm speaking only for myself, I could certainly use a little improvement in that regard. Sometimes I get a little over-the-top angry. Going further, he said, I will avoid anything that can be interpreted as condoning or referencing violence. Let's take a quick break. I'll be right back, and we'll get back into this thing You're listening to me, the Common Constitutionalist.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
All right, welcome back. So he's absolutely right. Ted Nugent is absolutely right, and we should all be more civil, and it is a laudable goal. But the problem is that we always get dragged down into the gutter by the other side, by the left, all right? And they do this on purpose. Have you ever heard, I do a lot of football analogies, and in football, you always hear the home field advantage thing, where the home team always has an advantage because of the home field crowd and being at home and playing on your home field. It's just a lot more comfortable, and teams usually have a lot more success on their home field. So, for want of a better term, I guess you could consider the gutter the home field for the left. Now, I understand that's not very civil, but it's the truth. But it's no reason for us to use that as an excuse, as if our civility is somehow dependent on whether they'll also be civil. I hate to say, but that isn't going to happen. The left can't be civil. And even if they appear to be civil for a day or two, it ain't going to last. We can always try to disagree without being disagreeable. But the only way to have a civil discourse, political, certainly, is to debate only the issues, okay? You got to stick to the issues, and you got to suspend the personal attacks. But the problem is the left can't do that. They can't stick to the issues. They can't be honest about what they stand for. And they also know they can't, which is why they do what they do. If the left were honest about what they really wanted to achieve, they wouldn't win another election, ever. So this is why the lefty brain trust, whoever they happen to be, and I have no idea who these people are, but they're definitely out there in, smoke-filled back rooms. Well, maybe not. Well, probably marijuana smoke-filled back rooms. I'm sorry, was that uncivil again? Whoops. They wake up every morning and they say, okay, how can we fool them today? And then they figure out how to fool them today, how to fool the public today into hating the Republicans or a specific Republican or a specific conservative or whatever, and then they send out these talking points to probably hundreds, if not thousands, of lefties. So it seems like magic or some sort of extrasensory perception when you watch or you listen to different TV broadcasts and radio shows. You always hear the exact same buzzwords being repeated, and like the same day or within a day or two, the exact same buzzwords are repeated by every single one of the left's media people, every single one of the left's pundits, politicians. They all say the exact same words in the exact same order. It's a daggum miracle is what it is. But it isn't. These are the talking points. These are the marching orders. And politicians get them all the time. But more importantly, the media gets them. CNN gets them. MSNBC gets them, NBC, ABC, CBS, all these guys get these talking points, and they just repeat them ad nauseum. Now, most of the time, they are not positive. The only time I could ever think of that was a positive talking point that everybody repeated was, remember the word gravitas? Ah, yes, gravitas. I can still remember when George W. Bush chose Dick Cheney to be his running mate originally. They said Bush didn't have much experience, but Cheney had a lot of experience. And every reporter, every TV host, every columnist, every pundit, everyone, and I mean everyone, said that Cheney would give the ticket gravitas. And they used that word. They never deviated from gravitas. Well, people don't use gravitas in the regular everyday speak. They just don't. And to prove the ridiculousness of this gravitas point, Rush Limbaugh, way back in the 2000s, I can't remember when it was, he did a montage of probably about 50 of these things. He just cut and spliced them, or his people cut and spliced them together with the gravitas, and it just went on and on and on and on. And virtually every single known pundit, every single media person said gravitas. It was incredible. So it kind of makes you wonder how many people are on this talking points list. Like I said, it's just got to be an unbelievable amount. But even more, you got to wonder who are the people making this stuff up? Who are the ones that are pulling the strings and putting out these talking points? I don't know. I don't know that we'll ever know. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back again.
You're listening to The Common Constitutionalist. Let the truth be known.
So before the break, I mentioned that these talking points that they put out, whoever the they is, they put out these talking points, and it's almost never positive, like it was with gravitas. They're almost always negative, and they're almost always personal, and they have to be, because these are Alinsky tactics right out of his book, Rules for Radicals. And some of the older lefty politicians, they didn't just study Alinsky's book. They were tutored, and like Hillary Clinton, actually worked for Saul Alinsky. He offered her a job. She turned him down to do some, I can't remember what the instance was, to go legit, for want of a better term, or to fake going legit. Was that uncivil again? Sorry. But she actually worked with Alinsky. That's just how radical Hillary Clinton really is. Again, lack of civility. Boy, do I got some work ahead of me, huh? So once you understand his community, and it's not community organizing, it's community agitating. I wish we could just get rid of the word community organizer, because they don't organize, they agitate. I mean, they organize people to agitate, but they are community agitators. And once you understand these tactics, it's easy to recognize what the left is up to, because they always use the same tactics, and it's right out of the rule book. And one of the most popular tactics, because it always works, is the rule number 13, which says pick the target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. And in order for this to work, the target has to be personalized, which means that it's harder to demonize an entire group like the NRA. Okay, if you want to demonize the NRA, you pick the poster boy for the NRA, Wayne LaPierre. He's an evil guy. He's the devil incarnate. Or you pick some executive of Big Oil. It's hard to demonize all of Big Oil. You pick an executive and you go after him. It's not that it can't be done. It's just easier to personalize the target. They did this to Newt when he was Speaker of the House back in the 90s. They claimed Newt wanted to basically privatize Medicare, and people could voluntarily opt out of Medicare. And then he said that Medicare would naturally wither on the vine because people would voluntarily get out of it and go into private insurance. So they took this, twisted it around. They picked Newt from the pack. They personalized it, picking him from the pack. Okay? They froze him up by calling him extreme and whatnot. They personalized the attack, and then they polarized him to the point where he was completely ineffective after a period of time. And it worked. They did it to Paul Ryan back in the day, several years ago. Remember the ad? What was it? An ad or I can't remember. It was a print ad or a cartoon or some sort of thing where Paul Ryan was wheeling. Grandma was in a wheelchair and Paul Ryan was wheeling her off a cliff. They picked him out of the crowd. They personalized him. They froze him out, and then they demonized him. And that worked too. They just recently did it to Bill O'Reilly. They didn't think that they could completely shut down Fox News, so they took their banner media person from Fox News, the number one guy. They picked him out of the crowd. They demonized him. They personalized him. They attacked him, and Fox cut him loose. That's the way it works. And now it's the Trumpsters' turn. And each time we see, it's the same tactic, over and over and over again. You pick someone, you separate them out of the herd. Okay, they don't need to be the weak, calf that's running amok, or the old fogey water buffalo or something on the Serengeti or something like that. It doesn't need to be that way. It could be a strong figure, but you successfully pick them out as the poster boy for the wrong-headed policy that the whole group is espousing, and you pick him out, you separate him from the herd, you personalize them, you demonize them, you polarize them. And they keep doing this the exact same way. And why? Because it works. And it works every single time. And it's like this independent counsel. Well, it's not independent counsel, special counsel, whatever. I'm wondering what the big difference is. But it's the special counsel Robert Mueller, who's a friend of Comey. He's no independent. He's a Democrat too. Gee whiz. And this was set up this way. I mean, Comey got booted, and in came his buddy Mueller. And they're already expanding their campaign against Trump. They're already expanding the investigation. You know why they're expanding it? Of course, because they can't find anything. Anytime you appoint a special counsel or an independent counsel, you can bet your bottom dollar that they're going to find something. That's what you're paying them to do, so by gosh, they're going to find something. There's no way that at the end of this thing, Mueller's just going to throw up his hand and say, you know what, we tried our best, and there's nothing untoward here. Thank you and have a nice day. Where's my paycheck? It's not going to happen. He was put in that position to find something on Trump or to find a fall guy in the Trump administration, at least somebody. If they can't take down Trump, by gosh, they're going to take down somebody. That's what he's there for. And they're not going to stop, and they're going to continue to expand the investigation into other avenues until they find something. Because I guarantee you they're not going to come away empty. No way, no how. Mark my words. But this is all the left knows. We can be as civil as we want to be, and we can walk away from the fight. We can't all walk away from the fight, because if we all walk away from the fight, we're just giving up the entire deal, and then the Democrats are just going to rush in here and take over everything. So we can try to be civil. We can try to disagree without being disagreeable. But this is all the left knows. This is the environment they exist in. They don't know anything else. And they don't know anything else because they've never had to learn another way like us. We have to study the issues. We have to be experts on the issues. We have to be experts on the Declaration and the Constitution and our founding and our history, so we can push back on these nimrods who continually try and bend and shape things to their will and just lie about it. And we have to be able to be smart enough to be able to push back and to educate people about what's really going on and the real history of America and so on and so forth. They have never had to learn that. They as far as the eye can see, or as far back as you want to go, this is what they've done before Alinsky, after Alinsky, whatever. It's always the same tactic. And as long as it continues to work, why the heck not? Again, football analogy. If you can run the ball successfully, why would you throw a single pass? You run the ball until they stop it, period. Same with passing the ball. If you can't run the ball but you can pass it successfully, Brady, for example, he'll carve you up. And until you stop him, they're not going to switch from pass to run. It's that simple. Why bother? What's the point? It works. This is what the left knows, and as long as it continues to work, why bother? So I won't be surprised, despite the fact that Nugent isn't a major political player, I would not be surprised, now that he has taken this vow of civility, for want of a better term, that somebody from the left is going to decide that they want to go after him, if nothing else, to test his commitment, so to speak, and just push him until he either breaks or walks away. Either way, you win. You get rid of one guy. Okay, fine. On to the next guy. That's the Alinsky way, brother. So that's about all I've got to say. I think I've said enough on this topic. This is the Common Constitutionalist signing off. Y'all have a great balance of the sunny, fabulous week. Well, hopefully it's sunny where you are, because it's going to be nice and hot and humid here tomorrow. Yay. And I'll talk at you next week. I'm out. See ya.